So how many dishes are you going to do today?
Probably about 180, about that.
And it's a big
Okay.
party or something
No,
like
there's 5 functions on today, I think.
that. And how many staff members have you got working with you today?
2, probably about, got 3 chefs, 1 apprentice, so 6.
But you're head chef.
Yeah.
So what is your real job? Like, what do you do? What does head chef mean in regards to those other staff members?
Well, I mean, the organisation is probably one of the main parts, is being organised, doing your ordering, and the weeks where I do it on a Sunday, even though it's like the end of the week, when I do my ordering at the end of the week, before I start the new week, it's always more organised. However, the most important role is probably to keep my team as a team.
Yeah, so you're actually people manager.
Yeah.
As well as your job cooking, as
Yeah.
well as your job ordering. So multitasking all the
Yeah.
time. So you actually have to be really well organised.
Yeah. But I think especially having the team, the teamwork as a team, and being able to lose a chef and not feel that. And that's where I've got the rostering, where maybe we have that extra person on, however, they'll then never be standing still. They'll be cleaning, they'll be organising, they'll be wrapping, they'll be making sure that when the health inspector comes in, that everything's in the right spot, you know, from little things to big things.
I wouldn't do your job for quids. I absolutely appreciate what you do because I would find it too stressful. Like, how do you manage keeping cool and calm and multitasking and stuff? I mean, do you have tricks or tips, or what is your self-management in regards to that? Because you've got pressure coming from all different directions,
Yeah.
don't you?
I suppose one thing is, I always say this, is bad mood, bad food.
Love it.
So if you're in a bad mood, you're going to make bad food. And you'll keep making bad food and you'll get in a worse mood. So, and also the dynamics, like I had Leanne in sick yesterday, one of my kitchen hands. So I called another one in, that was fine. And then I had my pizza chef sick. So then I sent him home, not because he was sick, because you can work with someone that's sick.
Yes.
But when they're, it's like, no. That's everyone else is either going to get pissed off before we send you home.
Yeah.
Or you're just going to bring everyone down and everyone's going to be shit. And no one's going to work. So a lot of it is just really people management.
But where do you find the strength to do that? I mean, surely everyone has a bad day. You know, I mean, how's today going? How did last night go? I mean, was it?
Yesterday carried on.
So
Like,
it was
just long, but that's when we get out and do things out of the kitchen, you know, which we luckily have the benefit here to be able to get out and do things and work on things. Like yesterday, I was like, oh, today's carrying on, so let's make gingerbread for Christmas. So we've got the gingerbread dough getting made now, so that when we next have a free time, we'll roll it all out, cut it all, make the house, make the gingerbreads, and that's one less thing for Christmas. So it's being really organised, and I think just having a good balance between home, life, party, sleep, you know, and friends, and making sure that I do find that balance throughout the week.
But it's really interesting with what you said, is that even within the job or something that you actually have to complete, there's actually a section that you enjoy. So it's the gingerbread is almost like a reward system, even though it's about doing the job.
And getting them all together, and we all sit down after work most of the time, have a chat, have our staff drink together, maybe 1 or 2, and have a laugh, and create that team, so that it's a morale that not only it keeps me positive, because they're positive, but I keep them positive, and everyone works, and it's like, you know, energy levels. If they're all positive, then it's going to be positive in there.
So I'm hearing organisation, I'm hearing discipline, I'm hearing positivity, but that we're here today also to have a discussion to go, it hasn't always worked that well for you. So can you tell me a little bit about sort of your journey of what's been happening with you and how you sort of managed some events in your life over the last few years?
So I have, I think it's a mental disorder. Could be wrong. That might not be the right words. It's called borderline personality disorder, which pretty much means I struggle to regulate my emotions. So when, say, I get angry, I might feel sad because I don't know how to feel angry.
Yes.
However, through lots of therapy, and I think that's one of the main things, is you've got to want to change. You've got to want to either not change who you are, but accept who you are and acknowledge who you are and realize that if someone yells at you, you're going to get upset. That's just you.
Yes.
But how do you minimize how upset you get? So
your reaction to, with the borderline personality disorder is not...
I embrace my illness.
Okay.
And I don't actually think of it as something that defines me or anything. I've got friends that have borderline who will constantly be online saying, you know, I need my friends, I need this, I need all this help, you know, constantly reaching out. However, I don't see them. They identify themselves as that illness.
Yes.
However, I don't do that at all.
So who do you identify yourself as? Like, how do you see yourself?
Well, I see myself as Amy Joy Walker. I see myself as a child of my mum and my dad. I see myself as a sister to my brother. I see myself as a chef, you know, as a girlfriend, as a friend.
Do you think that's how other people also view you? Given
Does
that
it
they
really
might have
matter?
seen you during these times?
Yeah, but you know, people are going to judge. People always judge.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and people don't understand. Not always do they understand. Even if you want them to, more than anyone, you want that one person to understand. They're not going to. If that's not in their capability, if that's not in their emotional capability, or if they don't want to. So I think it's just about being accepting of yourself and knowing, hang on, this is where I've come from. This doesn't define me, and this is who I am now.
That makes total sense. That really does. It's actually a very strong point of view, considering that there's been events where you haven't felt strong. I mean, have there been times where you've just felt really, really low and unable to sort of gather personal strength and, you know, when you are at your lowest?
Well, there's a lot of
what do you do?
symptoms of borderline, like fear of abandonment, suicidal ideation,
So
self-harm. There's a lot, and then there's other things where you can't regulate your emotions. Lots of habits, like drug habits, and I know for a fact that I can get addicted to things very easily. It be coffee, be it cigarettes, be it anything.
Okay. So you have sort of an addiction line in your personality.
Yeah, and that's normal. Or they have some sort of release, like there's people that shoplift, or there's people that do other silly things that aren't an effective coping mechanism. So effective coping mechanism when you're upset might be to go to walk along the beach.
Yes.
And not an ineffective coping mechanism would be going to cut yourself or burn yourself or, you know, take a whole lot of painkillers. They're not effective. So it's about or having a shower is an effective coping mechanism.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting because how often it's like people just say, have a cup of tea, have a shower, but that you actually notice that is a timeout, an effective mechanism.
But then,
managing.
like, I've learnt through DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy, and a lot of counselling, but I was proactive in that too. So it's cost me money, a lot of money. But then I've also got some subsidised by the government. I've moved and lived in certain locations so that I can actually get the help that I need at a cost that...
And was that important? Did you think that was necessary to do that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I went through North Metropolitan, which is, besides going private, and unless you have private psychological help, it's pretty much the best DBT program in Perth. So when I was in Royal Perth Hospital, then I went to inner city, they said that if you're in this location, you'll be going to North Metro.
That's interesting.
DBT. So then when I subsequently lost my job and I was going through a hard time, no matter what, I stayed there. I pretty much put all my Centrelink for my rent at that time, and any money I had pretty much was to pay rent just to go there.
So you were making conscious decisions for your wellness all the way along, even when you weren't feeling well.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So you had that sort of bit of clarity. Was there a time, or maybe not, was there a moment where you realised that you had this illness or that your personality changed or where you were struggling with an event? Was it always there?
I think it's always probably been there, because I think you know, like little things would really upset me as a child and stuff. And it's also, there's a lot of like schemers. So like if you know,
Explain what you mean by schemers.
schemers, like if you were told you were a bad child, like by just because you drew on the wall, I would genuinely believe I was a bad child. I would feel
overwhelming
and I would feel like I'm the worst person in the whole world, you know, all this stuff. Where it was overwhelming, where any other one else would just go, okay, that's fine.
Yes.
That's an example.
And did it sort of build up, or was there one breaking moment that you had where you just went, I'm just not right. I'm too sad, I'm too confused. Or was it just sort of a slow evolution?
No, it was to do, I had this girlfriend at the time who was absolutely crazy. And it got to the point where I just could not handle this person anymore. And then I said, yeah, I need you to leave my life. Like, I cannot speak to you ever. And then I felt bad. And that's when I think my first breaking point was, because I felt like I'd been a bad person by taking what I needed to say, this is enough, you need to step out.
By taking a stand.
And then I felt like I'd done a bad thing, I think. But I mean, there's a whole lot of other things. I mean, I was working so much, I was trying to party, there was no balance in my lifestyle. It was either I was awake, taking drugs to be awake, and taking drugs to go to sleep. Not amongst other things.
So an extreme sort of behaviour. Well, let's bring it back a little bit more to, let's say, school. School, normal? You think it was normal? You felt that you were just... What sort of child were you?
See, my brother thinks that I was pretty naughty and did like some crazy ass stuff.
And
I used to make him do lots of stuff that he didn't like.
It's a sister's rite of passage.
But then I do remember being really sad as a kid and being bullied in like year 3 or year 4, but I don't remember it. So anything really traumatic in my life, I have no recollection of. Okay. So if I have a huge fight, say with my girlfriend, I won't remember it.
Okay. It's sort of like a few
just
stage
completely
where you're just not there.
It's not a blackout as such, but I wouldn't remember having the argument or what it was about. Like an hour later, I'll be fine.
Does that cause trouble in the relationship? Does that still happen now?
Yeah, it does.
But I mean, I know your girlfriend. She's beautiful. And, you know, she's a very understanding person as well.
Like my family and stuff have noticed the difference. And I think the thing about the therapy and being proactive in that, and it wasn't just like 1 hour or something. It was, I'd go every week for a whole year, twice a week. So I'd have a group therapy session and then I'd have a personal therapy session. Now the personal therapy session, she wasn't very good. And I knew that.
Why?
Why wasn't she good? Because I knew that it wasn't the right type of therapy. I knew that I was actually probably too advanced for what she was trying to teach. Okay. And when she was saying stuff, I was like, yes, I know this.
So it wasn't the person, it was the program?
No, it was the person. It was definitely the person. We've got programs. I mean, it's like I personally think when you see a psychologist or what's the other one? Psychiatrist. Psychiatrist is slightly different because you just need them to know a lot of stuff about medication and know whether or not these side effects are positive or negative when you're looking at a side effect of a medication. So that's fine. But when you have a psychologist, you need to have some sort of relationship with them, whether it be a friend or someone that you could at least have a conversation with and feel like you can bounce off each other.
I absolutely agree with that. I say that to my patients. If you don't get along with your therapist or your doctor, you run.
Yeah.
Because they can make it worse for you.
You cannot.
Absolutely.
And you need to be able to feel comfortable to explain something. Now, I've had multiple ones. I saw one, Tosca, for like 4 or 5 years maybe, and she was great. However, when you look back on it, maybe 4 or 5 years was too long because I wasn't progressing. However, she did carry me through. Then I saw another lady, Sandra, who was insane, like so good. And she was so good. And she'd just go, I'd go, feel down. She'd go, why are you, like, you'd say something and she'd question it. And you'd end up walking out. This was in hospital, but you'd end up walking out going, holy fuck, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life now because like all of this stuff and I'm just completely blowed away. But she could do that in that hospital setting, like a psychologist in it, because you know that you've got somewhere safe to go. You know that you've got nurses. So that was good. And then I had Talia. Talia was younger and I thought, I'm not going to learn much off you, but she was very intellectual and new. And so she'd challenge me and we'd have good conversations. Then when I saw she just was a bit airy-fairy, didn't challenge me. I didn't feel like I need to feel like I'm getting pushed.
Okay, I'm going to ask you.
I didn't need to have someone behind me, but I needed to feel like I'm still trying to achieve it.
No, that's fine. That makes sense. So here's my more sweeping question. When you're in group therapy, because obviously it's people from all different walks of life, this affects lots of different people. Did you feel that the people in the group and maybe their level of intellectual functioning and stuff like that also influenced how you felt about the therapy? Or was it you able to sort of focus more that it's the instructor or the psychologist?
Well, you see these people like once a year, or
Okay.
once a week, every
Yes.
week,
Yes.
for a whole year. And you probably would never see them in normal life. One lady I went to hospital with, so I was in hospital with. She's very intellectual, very smart. However, I believe she still labels herself as this disorder, and she'll, go online. See, I use those tools to kind of go, okay, look, borderline is the hard, borderline is the hardest mental illness to treat by way above, and lots of psychologists and psychiatrists in hospitals don't bother because it's just too hard. They need therapy, they need one-on-one sessions, they need all of this. They don't just need a medication that works. So there's not a lot of help out there unless you proactively go for it. But I think it's maybe it's 1 in 2 people that do the therapy and proactively do it
Yes.
will not fit the criteria of having borderline afterwards.
Oh, that's quite interesting.
So if you do and you do it properly, you might not fit the criteria. However, I can see other people there that the older people, I think they struggle a little bit more because they've lived with it for longer.
Yes.
I've lived with struggling with it for a certain amount of years, but I've always been proactive in trying to find a solution.
Do you also think that's because you're a person that might have hope? And do you think hope's an important thing? You know how some people might feel hopeless because, as you said, they've been older, they've been living with it for longer.
Most people with mental illness don't want to live with it anymore, and
Yes.
that's why you get them to hospitals. That's why they try and kill themselves. They don't want to live with whatever they're living with. So my personal opinion is why not try everything that you're uncomfortable with before you make that decision? Why don't go, if you don't want to live and that's the biggest decision ever, then is there another way that you can live differently?
Well, the purpose of this whole conversation today is for the blog Follow Your Story. And Follow Your Story is really about so that people can follow your story, listen to you, listen to your situation and basically also your success in life. If there is something that can empower someone who's listening today who is suffering from borderline personality disorder, what are just a couple of the main things that you would like them to go away from listening to this conversation with?
I think you need to learn your emotions. I think you need to really spend time paying attention. And that's hard at the beginning, and it's so hard when you're first starting to realize, hang on, I feel shit right now. Why do I feel really upset? Did I feel upset at lunchtime? No. Yes. Did I feel upset? When did I first start feeling upset? Breakfast. What happened at breakfast? Oh yeah. Mackenzie yelled at me because I put the wrong toast on. I put the wrong spreading on the toast, for instance. And did I say anything about it at the time? No. Should I have said something? Is this emotion justified? It is justified because she has spoken to me in a bad way. However, could I have said something then to have sorted that out? Or do I need to speak to her afterwards and sort it out?
So you're examining and validating
Yeah,
the
it's
process.
being a detective. And then it's going, okay, what's going on for Mackenzie? Do you think maybe she just woken up and she's running late and she doesn't care about the toast? Or she does, there's a lot of other things you've got to look
take
at.
into account external focus,
Yeah.
which is really interesting.
Is it validated? Is it invalidated? Is there reasons for you to feel this way? Is it justified? Sometimes an emotion isn't justified. Sometimes I can feel sad, but I actually was originally angry. So you have a secondary emotion.
Yes.
And that's when, instead of, you've upset me, no, you've made me really angry, but I don't know how to feel anger, so I'm upset. No, actually, I need to look at it and go, that shouldn't have made me upset, that
So you're going through a process of deconstruction
Yeah.
then. Okay.
And I think the more you become a detective on your and start challenging those ideas of, is that the right response to a situation? Should I have acted that way? Or did I just take it a step too far? Anger's like a dog on a leash, you've really pissed me off, here's my dog. Right, now, you're really starting to say something. I'm gonna let my dog loose on you. And you have a few steps in that, and then in the end you go, right, you've overstepped the mark, I'm gonna let my dog loose. But you've got to have those levels.
And you see, that's such a mature but sensible information for anyone.
But
whether
that's
they
where,
have
like,
mental illness or not. You know what I mean? Because I think that would disseminate a lot of arguments between people.
Yeah.
And make changes to a lot of moods and motivation and things. So I mean, that's a really great skill set that you've developed with that.
Yeah, you definitely have to be on top of it and know whether or not that emotion, that reaction is validated and should be that high. Because if you go straight from 0 to 10 and I take your water bottle and you go crazy at me and lose your shit, afterwards you're going to forget why you did that. You're just going to beat yourself up.
Yes.
For losing your shit.
Yes.
Not actually going, okay, maybe that was too high, and then go, but why did I react that way? Is that something to do with, one of my kids has had problems with me, like getting water bottle, that stuff.
Yeah, so looking back on your own history and your own reactions to things. Well, thank you so much for your discussion today and being part of Follow Your Story. And I'm sure that you've actually given a lot of insight. I know I have, that deconstructing my reactions to things and that process that you're going through this is really, really powerful. So thanks so much for your time, Amy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I am Amy. I am a girlfriend, a friend, a family member, a sister, a daughter, a cousin, and I have borderline personality disorder.